Welcome to Indiana News Desk. I'm Joe Wren. President Donald Trump says he's keeping a campaign promise to bring back mining jobs. While people in the industry are hopeful the president's executive order overturning many Obama-era regulations will help, it might not make a huge difference. Sarah Whitmire reports.
Before President Trump signed his executive order on energy this week, Vice President and former Governor Mike Pence repeated something voters heard a lot on the campaign trail.
President Trump digs coal.
When the president was stumping for votes, he accused the Obama administration of waging a war against coal and vowed to put an end to it.
The action I'm taking today will eliminate federal overreach, restore economic freedom, and allow our companies and our workers to thrive, compete, and succeed on a level playing field for the first time in a long time, fellas. It's been a long time.
The executive order lifts a moratorium on new coal leases on federal lands. It repeals a number of measures, including a requirement to consider the social cost of carbon emissions in all regulatory actions, and crack down on methane emissions at oil and gas wells. The rule also eliminates an Obama-era rule restricting fracking on public lands, and a separate rule that requires energy companies to provide data on methane emissions at oil and gas operations. In small towns that dot southwestern Indiana, it's welcome news.
It will certainly put us on a path, essentially, to be able to move forward, and where the coal industry will no longer be intentionally disadvantaged compared to other energy sources.
Coal is plentiful in Indiana, and the state uses a lot of it. Hoosiers consume more coal than any other state, with the exception of Texas. Most of it's used to produce electricity. In 2014, coal produced 84% of Indiana's net generation. But in the last few years, those plants have started shutting down or converting to natural gas.
Maybe as a stopgap, Trump digs coal, but in the longer run, if you're looking 20 years down the road, we're not going to be digging a lot of coal.
Indianapolis Power and Light estimated it spent $70 million to convert its Harding Street plant to natural gas. Yes, the move was in part to keep up with environmental regulations, but the primary reason? The falling price of natural gas. Slaper says economics, not regulations, is the real war on coal.
With the Clean Power Plan, that's kind of a heavy-handed way to say you need to make the change like immediately. And then you could back it up, well, the market would do that anyhow. And then you say, well, it's also very expensive to do it immediately. So why not, so the arguments there are, why not let the market do its thing? It's heading in that direction anyway, as opposed to a heavy-handed approach that might say, well, you got to make it happen sooner.
Okay. Indiana produced about 13% less coal from 2014 to 2015 and shed 500 jobs during that one-year time period.
Those coal jobs and all of the other jobs that they create by providing business for others actually helps to support, obviously, tax revenue for roads, schools, programs, etc.
While most of coal's competition is coming from natural gas, new technology is also bringing down the price of solar panels and wind power, making them more competitive. Indiana's Coal Council acknowledges it would be cost prohibitive to bring old coal plants back online. But in a statement responding to Trump's executive action, the council's president wrote, there is a, quote, better way forward, and today's action helps to re-energize a focus on innovation over costly and unnecessary regulations.
Once there's a market-driven demand for something like clean coal, they'll figure out how to make it that way. So I don't think coal is going to be out of the picture entirely, but I wouldn't place bets on a lot of coal production across the country.
For Indiana News Desk, I'm Sarah Whitmire.
Another complicating factor that will limit the effect of Trump's action is that the Clean Power Plan is currently held up in the courts. Indiana is one of 28 states suing the EPA over the plan, and the Supreme Court last year temporarily blocked implementation of the rules. Many of the provisions in the plan weren't set to go into effect until 2022. The goal of the Clean Power Plant was to reduce carbon emissions in an effort to slow climate change. Trump has called global warming a hoax invented by the Chinese.
We've looked at one possible cause after another and striked one after another off. Meanwhile, the evidence that carbon dioxide is the cause has been mounting over time. So, yeah, I'm very comfortable saying that, yeah, it's happening, and it's because of us.
An Associated Press poll from September found 71% of Americans want the U.S. government to do something about global warming, including 6% who think the government should act even though they are not sure that climate change is happening.